Decision Desk HQ. This is what we have been waiting for. Can now project that former President Donald Trump will win Georgia. That is the second of the 7 battleground states for Donald Trump. Donald Trump wins Georgia, and Georgia's Electoral College votes that put him one step closer. And so we understand it. 16 Electoral College votes in Georgia, 16 in North Carolina. It would be worth bringing Connell out. Donald Trump at 242, Kamala Harris at 108. We talked about this all night, guys. The paths now for Donald Trump to win the presidency are many. There are many forks in the road for Donald Trump.
As are the odds, which have now just jumped to 86%.
Yeah, the odds now are strongly in Donald Trump's favor. It's 72%. So that's saying that some of the vote right now in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan says something that makes us pause, and understandably so. But Connell's up here, and I think once you have this filled in, now we look at what happens if Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania, if Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania. What are the different routes to 270?
Yep. All right, so let's we'll use our predictions map to do that right now. So we've called North Carolina, right? So that's the 16 that went. We've called just moments ago Georgia. That's the 16 that went. So Trump goes up with that math to 251, 270 needed to win. We leave Arizona and Nevada for what they are, which is later in the night. The math is what it always was. The math was the math at the beginning of the night. This was the best path for Kamala Harris before we started, and the best path for Donald Trump before we started. What do we mean? Why is it 85%? Well, if Georgia and North Carolina both go red, 251 plus 19, even Leland knows that that is exactly 270, right? So that's Trump, right? He would get to 270. But if Pennsylvania stays undecided as it is now, or if Harris runs the table, this is her option right now. The only way you think about it this way, if she wins Pennsylvania, which has now become a must-win for Harris, it probably was anyway, she goes to 245. Michigan has 15. That's always been a must-win. All the other swing states run right of Michigan. That's 260. So then, math-wise, you're 10 in Wisconsin. If you don't win there, the only thing for Harris you can replace that with is 11 in Arizona, right? So Nevada, you know, it could be close, but it wouldn't really matter in that case. So it could all come down in this scenario to those 2 states at the end. Harris probably has the better shot right in Wisconsin, and we remember 2016 when Trump became president. That was a Wisconsin call at like 2:30 in the morning. One thing I'll say about the blue wall, you guys know this, but they almost always go the same way, right? Once you win 2, you usually win the 3rd. The last time
they've gone the same way since 1992.
Yeah, well, I think it was 88. George H.W. Bush did not win Wisconsin. He won 2 out of 3 and didn't win Wisconsin. But most of the time, they go the same way. So that's the hope for Harris right now. Is Trump favored? Yes, that's what all the odds are telling us. But that's the hope for Harris.
This is where their team thought they were going to be, but they did not think that the margins would be where they are. It's still very close. It's not as close as they thought it would be in some of the areas.
When you say they, you're saying
Walz-Harris team. And people who were running their field operations thought that they would be more in the game in Georgia, but it's not like they got blown out in Georgia. But they believed it was going to come down to this. And the agonizing part for them is waiting, right? Yeah. Because, you know, to Leland's point, look, there's very little penalty for being wrong in politics, right? So you celebrate when you can, and then you cry when you have to, right? So the idea that you're happy right now, yeah, it makes sense. They're on the doorstep. Harris has to run the table.
No margin now.
And they have believed that, though. This is the theory of how they win for them. Let's see if they can put it into practice.
All right.
Yeah, well, and again, the flip side of this, and we'll get Chris Steyerwald on here as well, now that Georgia and North Carolina has been called, if Harris wins Pennsylvania and then Trump takes Michigan and Wisconsin, it's also over.
Yeah.
Chris,
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.